Trade talks are escalating around the Vancouver Canucks as the Canucks have been linked by an NHL insider to a young speedy winger in the Western Conference as Patrik Allvin continues to look to solidify this lineup heading into Game 1 of the regular season. We're going to break down this report linking the Vancouver Canucks to what looks like the perfect winger in the Western Conference, how much it costs to acquire this player, and exactly how he fits within the Canucks organization, and so much more. Later on this episode, before we hop into that, I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone watching. If you're part of the 58.2% watching this, and you haven't hit the sub button yet, but you want to stay up to date on everything to do around the Canucks, like trade reports, rumors, anything you can think of, you can catch it right here on Canucks Digest. It's completely free to hit the subscribe button, and in return, we'll give you daily updates from all around the team. But with that, let's just dive straight into where we know the Vancouver Canucks are making a lot of moves. We've seen Kravtsov play some waivers today after failing to impress the camp going into the regular season. We've seen Nils Höglander out with an injury, and this is where things start to escalate. We do get a report from the fourth period. All this will be linked down below, saying the Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson has been engaged in talks with multiple teams about Reichel, who's open to change the scenery and as opportunities in Chicago have seen to dwindled. Now, the big thing is with this, we know a lot of teams are looking to change up the roster a tiny bit to head in as they're looking to get compliant going into Game 1, but that's where we get the second report coming from the fourth period. The Vancouver Canucks, the Oilers, and the Sharks are among teams believed to have interest in him, who was drafted 17th overall by Chicago in the 2020 NHL draft. Now, looking at the young winger, there's a lot to like, and looking at the history of the Canucks, we know they like to make moves close to the start of the season. From Canucks Summary once ago, go check out all his work. Each year, Allvin has made a trade within days of opening day roster finalization. Opening day roster dates, we see October 10th, Dickinson trade on the 7th. We see on the 9th, Lafferty was traded on the 8th. Pullman was traded on the 6th with the opening day of the 7th. And we do see just a few days away, Patrik Allvin is lining up to seem to be making another move as he's been linked to the young player. Now, looking at Lukas Reichel, there's a lot to like about him. He hasn't been able to blossom in Chicago, but going through his numbers, we've seen 8 goals, 14 assists for 22 points, a minus 16, but Chicago is a bit of a dumpster fire. Hey, Connor Bedard, why don't you come over with them? But the big thing is, with Reichel, still a very young player that wants to break in, and a change of scenery can change quite a bit about a player. When you're looking at him, yes, it's not the flashy stats. Yes, he hasn't gone out to score 20 goals or put up a 30-point season, but 22 points playing a diminished role in Chicago, getting him into a more developed system with the Canucks, a winger that we've seen in the intro video is very good and can speed down the ice. There's a lot to like about his talent as Adam Foote wants to make this a faster team that's harder to play against. Now, the big thing and what to like about him, there's a lot of advanced numbers going into this by Byron Batter. He goes in to say Reichel's production development pattern was great. Significant growth for 5 years, coupled by a spring birthday. Haven't worked out great with Chicago thus far, but maybe he finds his game with a fresh start in a new team. The numbers look like Booch when he was traded from the New York Rangers to the St. Louis Blues, and he became a first-line player. Change of scenery is a little thing underrated when looking at players around the NHL. Getting a change of scenery for a player can be the make or break of his career, and the best part of this, going even further, we see Frank Cervelli say they're working on a deal to have him land somewhere likely before next week, when rosters are completed. This is not going to be a big return. We're talking probably a mid to late round pick. Now, the Vancouver Canucks have a lot of mid to late round picks, as we've seen a couple trades where they traded Artur Shilovs and Dakota Joshua for exactly that. If they want to go out and say, hey, Chicago, we have your 4th round pick in the next draft, sorry, not this one coming up, but the one after in 2027, we see 2 extra 4th round picks. They still have multiple picks in the later rounds, 6th, 5th, and almost all their 7ths. The Canucks can attach one of these 4ths and maybe a 5th or 6th to bring in still a very young, once again, player looking to blossom in the NHL. Now, looking at his numbers, this is a very low risk, high reward, in my opinion. You still hold the RFA rights to the player after the season, only making 1.2. If he doesn't work out, you can demote him, send him to Abbotsford, or trade him off for more assets as the season goes on. But with Kravtsov gone, with this team opening up more roster spots, with Höglander out, 6 to 10 weeks, which could extend all the way to Christmas. Trading for a winger like this makes perfect sense, as Allvin likes to make trades close to finalization. You have a young guy that's looking to be moved for absolutely nothing at this point. When you're looking at where he was selected in the 2020 draft, yes, he could turn into a bust, but I think with a left-handed left shot that can move his legs, score goals, and looks good in production when he actually gets the ice time, I do see the Canucks going out and taking the risk. Once again, a $3.1 million, they cleared up a bunch of room with the trade of Dakota Joshua, but going out to make this move gives them more options. They have someone that fills in. Yes, this kind of hurts the guys from Abbotsford trying to make their way up. We see Linus Karlsson, Max Sasson, Baines. All these guys had a great preseason. They looked great in camp. They're making the push. But if the Canucks can go out and get a former first-round pick, listen, it didn't work with Kravtsov, we know this, but the big thing is you kind of ship him out if he's claimed off waivers, if he stays in Abbotsford, or if someone else wants to make the trade, maybe a Kravtsov, plus a pick going the other way if he clears waivers and they want to take a flyer on 2 different players, things do make more sense. And going into the lineup, listen, a mid-round pick, yes, you don't want to trade more picks to bring in question marks, but looking at the lineup, RC Baines, Coots, Karlsson, Sasson, these guys are fighting for the final spot. This will give the Canucks a kind of a debut. They can go out and look at Lukas Reichel and say, hey, you have until Höglander comes back. If you look good, perfect. We'll find spots for you in this lineup. You get a middle six role, playing with Teddy Blueger and Conor Garland, which is great talent to play with. You have defensive responsible players, plus playmaking coming out of Garland. And if this doesn't work out, once again, if you really lose out on one of your 3 fourth-round picks that the Canucks currently have in the organization, are you really that worse off? You get a chance to get a player that has a great upside, that can work his way through the system, someone that can complement a lot of these players. If he plays good, if he's better than expected, maybe he slowly works up, still only 23 years old. I think the risk is worth the reward for the player. But Canucks fans, what is your thoughts? Would you go out and give up a mid-round pick to bring in Reichel? Do you think this is a guy that could be a low risk, high reward coming through the system, or would you rather stay put with what you have? Don't take a risk on another guy coming over that hasn't proven it yet. Let us know down in the comments. And speaking of comments, let's go straight into comments of the day. Coming from Adam, and he says, Coots can be a third-line center for 9 games without burning his ELC. I think Ratu is better than most people think, and I completely agree with this. Coots has been incredible. This kind of ties back into, would you rather give the chance to Lucas to join this team via trade, or would you rather give Coots this shot? And my big thing with Aatu Ratu going 6 for 6 in the 8-1 blowout versus Calgary last night, the Canucks have a lot of guys that are on the cusp of making this team. Yes, adding younger value to the roster does help. This could be a big season for the Canucks with their young guys breaking through, with the potential of some of these trades. But I do think with the Canucks, looking at everything, a lot of these guys are going to surprise us. We're going to get a surprise move at some points, as there's a lot of talent in this roster that all cannot break it. But what is your guys' thoughts on this? Leave a comment down below. You could be featured on Comments of the Day. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye for that. But I've been your host, Mark. Bye, and take care, Canucks fans.